Welcome back to Growth Colony, Australia's B2B growth podcast. I'm Alex Hipwell with X-Growth, your co-host for this podcast, where you'll hear from B2B executives in sales and marketing roles on the newest and most effective strategies and tactics in the B2B space. Now, let's dive right into this episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to another show. I'm Shahin with X-Growth, and today I'm talking to Natalie Mendes, the head of account-based marketing at SaaS, about how Natalie and the SaaS team's account-based marketing strategy has changed and transformed because of COVID in the past few months. On that note, let's dive in. Natalie, thanks for joining us.
Shahin, and thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
Always looking forward to talking to you about ABM.
No, thank you so much for being here. It's ABM is a passion topic of mine. So every single time we have someone who we're going to have a chat about ABM, we get into the nitty gritty and totally nerd out on it. But now, look, for those who might not be familiar with yourself or might have been under a rock and don't know about SaaS, can you give us a quick background and an intro?
Sure. So Natalie Mendes, my role at SaaS currently is looking at implementing the account-based marketing strategy, not just within Asia Pacific, but I'm also leading a global council where we are using a framework taken from some agencies where we pretty much focus on our large strategic accounts. But in recent years, we're looking to scale that capability. It's been a journey to implement ABM, but we've been meeting our goals all the way. Now, ABM at SaaS, who is SaaS? SaaS is one of the largest privately owned software companies. And really, if I was to explain it just in a couple of words, we're all about data and analytics, artificial intelligence. And while we've been around for 44 years, we are the pioneers in that space, and you'll notice that there's a lot of new companies coming up in the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning. But I can confidently and passionately say that we've been around for a long time and we know our stuff, and we're the leader in this space. So very proud to be part of it and implementing account-based marketing there.
I love it. And you mentioned that you're with account-based marketing and SaaS, you're kind of been doing strategic, and now you're looking at moving to scale, which is always a very interesting transition of, previously saying, what we were really targeting 50 accounts, but now how can we, to some degree expand that level of personalization to maybe 1,000 accounts, to 2,000 accounts. So that's an interesting journey, and one that I'm very would love to follow and see how it goes. But before we maybe go deeper into that, can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you define ABM at SaaS?
Yeah, sure. And I know, Shahin, you're aware that there's lots of different types of definitions out there about ABM, and especially with organisations that focus on, I suppose, the large scale ABM, it's like, let's just target everyone. The way we define ABM, and our definitions come from ITSMA, we follow their framework and their methodology. So that's one of the assets that we use. But we define it as really focusing on building relationships where it counts, having a reputation with our brand that's significant to that account, and making sure that we can help drive revenue and pipeline. So if I was going to say, define it as what it's not, there's an interesting slide that I sometimes say is, if your customer's experiencing the same message as everyone else, then it's not ABM. It's going to be highly personalised and customised to that particular account. And our focus at SaaS the last few years has been just on strategic accounts, where we treat each account as a market in their own, making sure that we truly understand what the business imperatives are of our customer to make sure we can help them on their journey, solve the problems that they need to. Our mantra is make sure that we can support the customer where it counts and, really do the deep dive on strategic stuff. Now, in saying that, while we've gone through that journey, we are looking to expand and scale our capabilities in ABM to more accounts.
Gotcha. And the concept of looking at one account as your complete market, not from a company standpoint, but from a marketing campaign standpoint, it's a very fascinating one, right? Treating that one account as if your whole marketing campaign depends on that account turns into some very interesting campaigns.
Hey, it's Alex from Xgrowth. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about the Growth Colony Slack channel. Do you ever find yourself stuck with a B2B problem? Need a second opinion on your next campaign? Or looking for some feedback on that piece of MarTech you're thinking to purchase? Well, that's why we created the Growth Colony Slack channel. This Slack channel is like a small dinner party where you get to meet and mingle with B2B professionals, hear what others are doing, and keep up to date with the latest B2B trends and news. You'll also get access to a range of exclusive content from our podcasts, webinars, and events. The best thing about it, it's all free. If this sounds interesting, head over to growthcolony.org/Slack and sign up. That's growthcolony.org/Slack.
Now, obviously, COVID has hit us, and there has always everybody has had to change and adjust. There's been a lot of, before COVID, we had certain tools in the toolbox of events and travel and in-person, face-to-face component, direct mail. Those are some of the things that are not as readily available now as they used to be. But I'd love to get an understanding of, how did ABM look like at SaaS before the pandemic? What were you doing, and what was some of the campaigns that you were running?
Yeah, good question. Interesting one. Everything looks bright and great just before the pandemic. One of our key criteria is to make sure that we have our following year's plan ready to deliver by, December 2019. So we're all set to go for 2020. But of course, it's nothing like a good pandemic to change the way you need to rethink and reimagine. So before the pandemic, we had a good account-based marketing plan globally. We knew where we were heading with certain accounts that we'd selected. And really, our main driver for 2020 was to be able to scale to more accounts. And while we're still trying to do that, it's just some of our tactics and activities and programs have definitely had to be, and I'm going to say, reimagined to still try and deliver and get the same results that we set ourselves, the same goals we set ourselves at the start of the year.
Gotcha. So how did it look like beforehand? Can you give us some example of campaigns that you're running?
So we were looking at doing highly personalised direct mail pieces, which included things like video brochures on value propositions that were relevant and key to certain stakeholders within a company. Of course, direct mail is great when you know that your customer is going to be sitting at their office and you can easily send a parcel to the office because they will get it. But everyone's working from home now, and people don't want to give out their own personal addresses and details while they're working from home. So the highly personalised direct mail pieces had to be rethought. It was hard. We had to put a hold on that. There were personalised webinars that we wanted to run for each customer. That hasn't changed too much because we can see there's been an explosion in webinars, which is probably going to be too much noise to run for customers because they're just probably bombarded with webinars. But also just having bespoke roundtables, advisory boards that are relevant to those customers, and also topics. So, for example, things around customer intelligence, intelligent decisioning, artificial intelligence, with our new roadmap and our new cloud capability that we're offering. All those in-person events or bespoke those bespoke in-person events have had to pretty much all be cancelled and reimagined and rethought of.
Right. Geez. And yeah, and in a pretty short period of time, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think it sort of has made everyone realise how much we probably weren't ready for that whole digital explosion.
Yeah, even yeah, you're right. Even companies who claim to be all digital and all, up to speed with the new trends, they even had challenges, really working with this with the pandemic and adjusting to it. So look, it's interesting, so direct mail was a big piece from what you and the team were leveraging, and events were a big piece. So how has these changed? I mean, one of the things you mentioned is looking at webinars, but how have things changed now in terms of your strategy for the market?
Yeah. Well, it's been really important to, I suppose, take a step back and really understand how people are feeling in the times that we're in. Everyone's got their own stresses working from home, and if you're a parent, you'll understand the homeschooling thing has been quite interesting, and probably a bit of a struggle for the people that are working full time and still trying to do that. So, from a global marketing perspective, we've had to make sure that we aren't bombarding people with just marketing messages around selling software or services. We really we have to be empathetic of everyone's current needs and the situation they're in. The approach in marketing in general is to look at things with empathy. Within ABM, we've realised, and I have to use this as an example, that when the pandemic hit and we were told that we aren't allowed to go in to meet customers, there's no in-person events, pretty much 2020 got cancelled for marketing. And we thought, oh dear, I felt I suppose I had empathy for our sales team, because their main tools are to go out and meet for a coffee with the customer and have a chat to them about, their needs, and all that had to stop. So we have to think about, well, how can we start making sure, one, that we stay connected with our customers on an empathetic level, given their current situation, and we're all in that space. How can we still engage them, though, but in that time make sure we can excite and delight them as well, to make sure that, during this pandemic we don't completely lose touch, because I think if we don't stay connected and in touch, in 6 months' time, they'll forget you, or
That's right.
Why didn't you think about me 6 months ago? Or your competitor will come in and be smart and grab their attention.
Yeah, it's a constant share of voice, right? If you all of a sudden drop it from your end and your share of voice in the market drops, then somebody else is going to pick that up. So how are you going about and making sure that there is that you keep that fire going?
Yeah. So without giving away too many secrets.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Sharing
Anything that
is
you can
caring.
share.
Of course, making sure that we're still very aligned with the sales team, because the sales team definitely need to make sure that they're still connected with their customers. We've been seeing some great stuff in the market where direct mail is still possible in these times. And so if you, and again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I can't, but there is still the possibility to offer care packages to your customers that you want to stay connected with, and make sure that they're still on top of, the program that we've set for them. So I probably would say, and you know me, Shahin, I believe in direct mail. If it's used well, it does work well. I feel that direct mail is not dead during COVID. It's still working well. It's just how you go about doing it.
Gotcha. That's a really interesting, because a lot of people have that perception, right? That okay, we can't do direct mail anymore. But it's awesome to know that there are definitely strategies to leverage.
Yeah.
I know that there are ways that you can virtual gifts are definitely one way that I've come across, and companies are leveraging, but also asking for, if somebody wants to get the gift at their home, or they want to donate an equivalent of that to a charity.
Exactly.
And there's been all the strategies that that I think I've seen in terms of some delivery companies that would kind of go to an office, and if the person is not there, they would kind of take that package and then get the home address and deliver it to home if that person is fine with it. So there's definitely some interesting ways to go about it. Now, Natalie, what do you think is in store for SaaS in the next couple of months? Like, what are you looking at? What are you keeping a close eye on? And also, how do you think your approach to ABM and marketing is going to be impacted in the next few months?
Well, I thought that, so I'm based obviously here in Melbourne, and I thought that we were coming out of this pandemic and going back to normal, hopefully quite soon, where we could start doing some meetups with customers. But as you know, we're in complete lockdown again for 6 weeks. So while we were throwing ideas around virtual breakfasts and virtual cocktail functions, that kind of stuff we need to bring back in terms of the planning, because, and I will share this example. We had our sales team that was running a virtual workshop with a customer. And typically when you run workshops with customers on site, you do provide some breakfasts and maybe some collateral and things to go with it as well. But because this was virtual, everyone was sitting at their home, and it was a small group, so the numbers worked well. I said, well, why don't you try and make it as real as possible by asking them what they would like during this workshop for breakfast. So it was a breakfast workshop. And if they are happy, if they give us the name of their local cafe that they want to support during lockdown, and they give us their order, we will go and get Uber Eats to pretty much, we put an Uber Eats order in and have the meal delivered to them 10 minutes before the workshop starts. Oh. Very simple, basic idea. Without any hesitation, those customers threw me their personal details, their order, and the cafe they wanted to support it, and they loved it. And apparently the first 10 minutes of the workshop was talking about what they were all having for breakfast.
That's so cool.
So from I suppose a sales and customer relationship perspective, it broke down those formal barriers which you want to do when you're doing workshops. I think you don't want to have to look like you're purely selling. You just want to just make it casual, informal. And one of the metrics of the ABM is to build that trust and relationship and reputation. And again, small idea, easily executed, but a big impact with being able to, build that trust, relationship, and follow up strategies.
I love that. And that's always that physical touch. It's very hard to beat it when somebody's sitting down there and they're having breakfast, the breakfast that you got them at their home. It's a very intimate feeling, and I think it's very interesting to take that approach. That's a great example, Natalie.
And it's exciting, delighting, and playing back on the empathy. You're working from home, we understand. So his something to enjoy while you're part of, thanks for your time at the workshop. And that's just one small example that we trialled, and we thought, oh, this has got some good feedback. But globally, there's some great ideas coming out of the regions where they're looking at doing wine and cheese tasting virtual events as part of a strategy workshop they'll do with their customers. There's some really cool ideas about hiring a chef and doing a class online with ingredients, but then tying it back to our topic and theme of our value prop that we want to get to the customer. So
that would be interesting. So the chef is talking about how to make a beautiful lasagna, and you, I would love to see that, of how you tie in analytics with a lasagna. That's
well, I've seen something similar years ago that SAS did, where you around the ingredients for success, so you can tie it into a cookie.
Oh.
Yeah, so again, given that we're in lockdown, I think, lots of people around the world are in their wave 2 part of the pandemic. We have to be confident that we can do this stuff. And in being able to run these types of virtual fun events, you are building trust and relationship with your customers. Your reputation and brand is being recognised. And ultimately, I think the other side of it is the fact that we're still supporting the local economies as well, which is what I'm passionate about. That's why I'm like, you choose your local cafe that you want to support, and let's support them through this.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's really good. Now, Natalie, those are most of the questions that I had. Before we wrap it up, is there anything that you think we didn't cover and you think listeners would gain value from with regards to ABM, what was happening before, what's happening now, what's working now? Do you think there's anything that I kind of missed?
I don't think you've missed it. I think a topic for another discussion, and that I've always focused initially on large accounts, strategic accounts, but going forward, how can we start scaling what we do with just a few accounts to more accounts, and, things around, and I talk about the ITSMA methodology and framework. The first 2 steps of the process is doing deep research and gathering those customer insights and getting the stakeholder profiles. That's a lot of tedious work for a resource to do. And I think covering off the process of what's involved in ABM, it's not just all about running events and doing tactical campaigns. There is a big approach behind the whole concept of ABM. But in saying that, I think, Shahin, you might have another session on, well, what are the steps in ABM? Because the first 2 steps are probably the biggest, where I know personally I need support and help from, agencies like yourself to get us good results.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. The research is a big component in ABM, and if you don't get that information, if you don't get that insights right, and everything falls apart, right? And but then the next step is, all right, how can we generate hypotheses, and how can we and then turn those hypotheses into campaigns, right?
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of situations, when you look at scaling an ABM, you got to be very careful in terms of the resources that you spend, because previously you didn't necessarily need as much. You definitely needed process and systems for a strategic ABM, but they were not as crucial when it comes to scale ABM. Because scale ABM, you can very easily, things can get out of hand, and you can spend all of a sudden a lot of money on accounts where you shouldn't be, because you're targeting a lot more accounts, and if you do that, all of a sudden you have a much narrower focus on the number of accounts you're going after. So what I've seen is having the proper systemizing the process is very crucial to drive costs down, and being able to target that 200 accounts that you want to go after, 500 accounts that you want to go after. That it's not all manual work and human touch, basically. But that's definitely a very interesting topic to look at. How do you scale your ABM approach? And thank you very much for that title idea for another podcast or a webinar. So I'll definitely take that on board. Now, Natalie, if anybody wants to reach out or want to connect with you, want to know more about yourself or SaaS, what's the best way for them to do so?
Sure. Well, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so just connect with me on there and send me a message, and I will respond. And looking forward to connect, because it is a passion of mine. And I won't say I am the expert. I'm always learning, and I love to hear from others about what they do and brainstorm ideas as well.
Well, Natalie, I always enjoy our conversations and totally nerd out on our ABM chats. So thanks a lot for joining me on this episode.
Thanks, Shahin.
Hey, it's Alex again from X Growth. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode. If you enjoyed it, we'd love it if you take a moment to rate us on Apple Podcasts. It would really help get the word out to other B2B professionals. If you're hungry for more B2B content, make sure to join our Slack channel at growthcolony.org/Slack, where we share the latest B2B news, tactics, tips, and chat about problems we're facing in the B2B space and find solutions together. That's growthcolony.org/Slack. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode.